Hey everybody, good morning, welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. Hope we're all doing extremely well. And yeah, it's Sunday, it's time for the weekly watches. We have 9 films to talk about this week. Some good stuff, I think nearly all good stuff this week. I don't think... Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a rant this week, which... You may be disappointed, but there you go. That's the way it is. So let's scroll the credits and we'll get into this, shall we? Right, I kicked off the week in a very good way, if I do say so myself. The Graduate from 1993, directed by Andrew Davis, starring, of course, the legendary Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, John Pantilano, Celia Ward, even a brief appearance from the ever good Julianne Moore. Now you've all seen The Fugitive, I'm sure, a film that I really enjoy, and thanks to James sending me the 4K, I could enjoy it for the first time in Ultra HD. And yeah, decent transfer as well, particularly the detail in the actors' faces. You can see every line, every blemish. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. I like my 4Ks. Yeah, I'm sure you're all familiar with this story. It stars Harrison Ford as Richard Kimball, this eminent surgeon who, working late one night, returns home, finds his wife murdered and a one-armed assailant in the house. Unfortunately for Harrison Ford, for Richard Kimball, he is wrongly convicted of his wife's murder and he's sentenced to death by, I think it's lethal injection. Anyway, on the way to having his sentence carried out in the prison bus, it crashes and he manages to escape and he becomes the titular fugitive so he can prove that he's innocent and catch this one-armed man and uncover the truth. Yeah, really good thriller stroke action film that I highly enjoy. The classic cat and mouse with Tommy Lee Jones as the policeman trying to get hold of him. The dive from the tube and the little exchange before he jumps off. I didn't murder my wife. I don't care. Just classic 2 lines that I thoroughly enjoy. Yeah, really, really love The Fugitive. If you haven't given it a watch by any chance, give it a go. And if you can, pick up the 4K, yeah, because it's really good. That's The Fugitive. And next up was the oldest film of the week, I think, from 1940, directed by William Wyler, and that's Betty Davis in The Letter, also starring Herbert Marshall. I like Herbert Marshall, I think he's quite an underrated actor, and James Stevenson. Yeah, I do like Betty Davis, and this is one I hadn't seen, and I quite enjoyed it actually. This is about Betty Davis. She lives with her husband in Singapore, I think, and they are owners or in charge of a rubber plantation. And one night, while Betty Davis's husband's away on business, she guns down a man on the porch of her house in front of many witnesses. All the workers see it, so there's no mistaking that Betty Davis kills this guy in what looks like cold blood. Her defence is that he entered the house and tried to sexually assault her, and that's why she ends up killing him, which looks like that's the way it's going to go. Then she's going to get off with it because it looks like self-defense, until the existence of this letter turns up that she in fact invited the man over to her own house and had some history between them in the past. Yeah, really good film, and I like Betty Davis when she's got a dark edge to her, and in this one she particularly did. Yeah, one of the favourite ones now I've seen from her. Yeah, she's really, really good in this. You find out the backstory of her and this guy, and she becomes more and more devious, if you like, as the film comes on, and more of an unlikable character, but more and more that puts her up in my estimations, because yeah, I really like her with a dark edge. She's, there's a lot of people know on the channel, one of my favourite actresses, and she's got such a prolific filmography that I've got so many more to explore still. I mean, this is what I started on a box set that I hadn't been on for, so I think I've got another 3 films in there to explore. Yeah, really good that. The Letter, Betty Davis from 1940. And next up, from 2008, directed by Brad Anderson, who, the director I should really explore more. I've seen a couple of other things from him. The Machinist, which was really good, and The Call with Halle Berry, which I quite enjoyed. Yeah, Transsiberian. And for younger viewers, that's not a Russian of confused gender. No, Transsiberian is this train that travels from China all the way into Russia through Siberia. I think it's about 3,000 miles. Yeah, but it stars Woody Harrelson, Emily Mortimer, Kate Mara, Eduardo Noriega, and Ben Kingsley, amongst others. And yeah, really good cast and a really good thriller. Again, another film that I've seen quite a few times and I really like. And I've got Tim to thank, actually, because Tim seems to have talked about this in his last 25 videos, and it just spurred me on to give it a rewatch, so thanks for that, Tim. This is all about Woody Harrelson and Emily Mortimer. They're a married couple. Shows that opposites attract, really, because Mortimer, she was this kind of wild child character who was done for drunk driving and alcoholism. She real drink problem. And she then got married to Woody Harrelson's character, who had a lot to do with the church, and they go on a journey to China helping poor and underprivileged kids. And yeah, like I say, really odd couple, because she's quite wild and he's into the church and quite a staid character. So instead of flying back from China, they decide to take the Trans-Siberian train, as I say, like 3,000 mile long through harsh conditions, and it looks really depressing. It's no wonder that Russians look quite dour when these are the kind of conditions they live in, because I couldn't cope with it myself. But en route, they meet this other couple that are backpacking across the region, played by Mara and Noriega. After Harrelson's character, he gets accidentally left behind, Noriega's character unwittingly leaves some drugs in the possession of Mortimer, and she ends up drug smuggling unwittingly across the journey, where Ben Kingsley character, he comes into play then as this quite corrupt, evil detective who sort of knows she's up to something. And yeah, again, a battle of wits that becomes quite brutal with this policeman and his assistant. Yeah, really good film, sort of like crosses genre halfway through, from sort of like a travel movie into this crime thriller that will leave you feeling cold. Be a good one to watch in the winter. And incidentally, Tim just did his top 25, I think, or something, films in winter, which go over to Tim's channel, because that was a really good video. I'll leave Tim's details down below so you can go and watch that video. Yeah, Transsiberian, quite a favourite of mine. I've watched this quite a lot over the years. Yeah, I like that one. Right, next up, I was delighted to find Ford Apache in the charity shop for 25p. Part of the John Ford Cavalry trilogy, and probably the one I'm least familiar with. I think I have seen it years ago, so I was quite pleased to find that. So I settled down for the night. I watched it at the night, turned all the lights out, got myself a beverage, got myself some snacks, put the disc in, press play, turned it on, and yeah, it's actually the man tall in the saddle that was in the box. So I was quite disappointed. However, I was at this point that settled that I couldn't be bothered, could be asked to move, and just let it play. And I'll tell you what, it was a good film, Tall in the Saddle. I really enjoyed it. I hadn't seen it before. 1944, and it was directed by Edwin L. Marin. Got John Wayne in, so he is there, the Duke. Ella Raines, Ward Bond, love Ward Bond, good character actor. Gabby Hayes, who was probably the best bit about this film, and Gabby Hayes is a favourite of my father. And Audrey Long. Yeah, this is about John Wayne's character, and he's taken a job to go and work on this ranch, and when he travels there, he finds out that the ranch holder who gave him the job is dead and had been taken over this ranch by an elderly, rather obtuse woman and her rather attractive niece. John Wayne had been paid wages in advance to start the job, so he hands that back in, declines to work there, and decides he'll probably head back. But then he discovers that everything's not what it seems in the town, or the natives aren't very friendly, and that the guy who offered him the job on this ranch had died very suspiciously. And it's then John Wayne getting to the bottom of what happened to this ranch holder, why he died, and in the meantime, he has two different women falling for him. One of them played by Ella Raines, who I haven't seen her in anything else, and she was quite good at it. So if anybody's got any more suggestions for Ella Raines films that I could watch, yeah, let me know down below. Yeah, a decent Western. Maybe not up to the quality that Fort Apache would have been, but there you go. That would be for another day now, Fort Apache. But I'm going to have to try and track down a copy of both, because I'd like Tall in the Saddle in its right box, and obviously Fort Apache. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Right, next on the agenda, Shutter Island 2010, Martin Scorsese, obviously Leo DiCaprio, Mark Ruffalo, Ben Kingsley again making appearance, Max von Sydow, Michelle Williams, Emily Mortimer again making another showing in the weekly watches, Patricia Clarkson, Ted Levine, John Carroll Lynch. So yes, stack cast in this Martin Scorsese. A rewatch, yeah, I've seen this a few times. For me, not top Martin Scorsese, but it's decent. I wouldn't say it's up there with the likes of Casino, Goodfellas, but yeah, it's all right. Like the plot about Leo and Mark Ruffalo, they're these detectives come to this island to investigate the disappearance of a patient in this really dangerous looking mental hospital that houses America's most prestigious, or not prestigious, but most evil patients with mental illnesses that have done some heinous things. And whilst investigating the disappearance of this woman, that they don't know how they got out of the cell, because she went in locked up, and they don't know how she got out. Things aren't what they seem to be. Is there really stuff going on this island, or is Leo on the verge of a mental breakdown? Because Leo himself has had things go on in his past that continue to haunt him. His wife died in a fire, and apparently the guy who started the fire is also one of the patients at the hospital. It's all set during this blazing hurricane as well, and made this place look quite remote, quite unhospitable. The people who work there, they seem to have like ulterior motives. And yeah, a really good mystery film that you're not sure what's going on. And even at the end, when there's this big twist, which I won't reveal because I know it's an old film, but like I said before, like there's people, young people, still coming of age and watching these films for the first time, so they should go in and not have stuff spoiled by me. Not that many young people watch my channel. I think it's all middle-aged blokes like myself, so everybody probably knows it. But just in case somebody isn't, even after that twist is revealed, I'm not still 100% sure the film is how it would make you believe it ended. I still think there's something else going on there. Yeah, Shutter Island, a decent time, a decent watch. Yeah, I quite enjoy that. Up next, EdTV from 1999, directed by Ron Howard. And another good cast in this. Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson, Jenna Elfman. I don't think I've seen in anything else. And she was cute as a button in this. So, again, any recommendations, more Jenna Elfman films? Yeah, let me know. Martin Landau, Ellen DeGeneres, Rob Reiner, Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper was good. Elizabeth Hurley, Adam Goldberg, and yeah, good film. I've never seen it before. Quite enjoyed it. Nothing that's gonna tax you in any way. It's quite like the Truman Show, but I'd say with a bit of a darker edge to it than the Truman Show. This is all about Matthew McConaughey and his brothers with Woody Harrelson and Ellen DeGeneres. She's like an executive on a TV company, a struggling TV company, because I think there's about 10 million of these companies in America and they're all vying for audience, and they come across this idea of just filming one man's general life. And after Woody Harrelson, he auditions to be like the star of it, and Matthew McConaughey, he sort of muscles in on his interview, and they like McConaughey more than Harrelson and decide to give him the job. From whence on, then the cameras follow him everywhere, apart from the bathroom, I think. Like on the first day, he's forgotten about it, and he wakes up and like, scratches his balls, and they're filming him, and he's quite embarrassed. Yeah, it's decent. It's like I say, it's quite dark. It's more a look at the seedy side of these television companies, how outwardly to Ed they were all nice to him, and yeah, the ratings are going good, you're doing great, but behind the scenes they're trying to manipulate Ed's life so that it will suit their ratings more, like getting him together with girls and breaking them up and getting him different jobs and stuff like that. Anything to make the show more interesting. Yeah, all right. Like I say, didn't tax the brain much. Killed a couple of hours. I could maybe see myself going back at a later date to watch it again. Whether there's a Blu-ray or not, I don't know. It would be one that I would be quite interested in upgrading because it's one that would stay in the collection. Yeah, EdTV. I like my EdTV. Dire Straits classic. And next from 1958, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, directed by Richard Brooks, starring Paul Newman, the ever superb Paul Newman. Elizabeth Taylor, who I tell you what, she's got such a huge filmography, but I think this is the only film I've ever seen her in, so I think that's something else I've got to rectify. Watching some more Elizabeth Taylor. I have got Cleopatra, but never watched it because it's about 10 days long. Burl Eyes always magnificent. Day of the Outlaw, brilliant in that. Judith Anderson, Jack Carlson, Madeline Sherwood, and a first time watch, and I quite enjoyed it. Set from a stage play, I think, by Tennessee Williams. This is about Paul Newman. He's married to Elizabeth Taylor, and he's always rebuking her attention and stuff like that, which is, you understand that's quite odd because she's absolutely smouldering in this film, Elizabeth Taylor, and it comes to pass that Paul Newman, he's got problems. He's a sports star, American football player that had to give up his career early through injury, battling drink. I think he's always got a glass of whiskey in hand in this film, and personal tragedy where his best friend was killed, and he always blames Elizabeth Taylor for it. In fact, he wasn't killed like he killed himself. I think he jumped out a window. And you get the impression, though it's not stated, because I think in the film of the time in the 50s, they were a bit reticent to mention that out loud, that Paul Newman had maybe more than a platonic friendship with his friend, and it was a bit more of a love triangle, his relationship with his friend and Elizabeth Taylor. I know which one would come out on top for me. He finds out his father's dying, and they go to his house in the country, to big house that he lives in, because he's a successful businessman, to celebrate what's going to be the father's last birthday on this earth, where also his other son's there with his annoying wife and his annoying kids, and what an annoying family they were. God, they did my head in. And Elizabeth Taylor was outwardly hateful of the kids, was I'm sure I would have been too, which would quite amuse me. And his brother and the wife are always sucking up to the dad because they want his money when he dies. It's quite obvious and heinous the way they go about it. But whereas Paul Newman, he's got that much trouble in his own personal life that he doesn't bother about the money. He just wants to find solace in the bottom of a whiskey bottle, and it's all about then Paul Newman then reconnecting with his dad. Yeah, quite a good film. I quite enjoyed it. It's well acted. Probably what I wouldn't go back for quite a long time, but probably one day in the future I could see myself watching again, maybe just for E.T. Definitely the best E.T. you can watch, not that other load of dross. Yeah, good film. Next up was time to revisit an old favourite. Yeah, I love this film. The Godfather, 1972, Francis Ford Coppola. What a cast. Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, Talia Shire. I'm not very keen on Talia Shire, sorry. Sterling Hayden, Richard Conte, and John Cazale, who's brilliant as Fredo, the sort of runt of the litter of the brothers. The Godfather, we've all seen it. It's without a doubt a masterpiece. The storytelling, the world building, the music, the cinematography is mamma mia. Top dollar. I love the character arc of Al Pacino, how he goes from this one of the war hero, son of Don Corleone, who doesn't want to get involved in the crime syndicate, who wants to build his own life. He comes back from the war, but circumstances lead him to getting drawn deeper and deeper into this mafia world, and how his character changes from this quite a meek guy who in love with his girlfriend, who fiance, but he gets drawn more and more into this underworld, and you see his character changing for the darker and darker as he becomes more and more of a criminal element. good grief, elements himself. I'll leave that in. Mainly because I'm rubbish at editing, but there you go. Yeah, we've all seen it. What a world they build. I love the opening scene at the wedding. Much like the Deer Hunter, two great opening scenes, two great wedding opening scenes, and you get to know the characters. You've got Sonny, the brother, who's the hot-headed one, who look at him wrong and he'll shoot you in the back of the head. You've got James Caan, who not a full brother, he's an adopted son of Don Corleone, who takes all care of all the legal side. Not that they go for the law more. Robert Duvall's character, that was Tom. I could say John Cazale, Frido, the run to the litter, who they can't quite trust. Talia Shire. I was going to say, I don't really like Talia Shire. I don't know what it is about. She annoys me. She's the same in the Rocky films, who's just there to bring in more kids into the family, I think. Yeah, The Godfather, you've all seen it. It's all great. It's a masterpiece. It's 10 out of 10. Rated it 5 on Letterboxd, obviously. Brilliant film. And I followed that up with The Godfather 2. Now, please, don't shoot me. I've seen The Godfather, I'd say conservatively, that was maybe my 6th watch, and I'm very familiar with it. But, however, unbelievably, this was a first time watch for me. I don't know why. Like I say, love it. I just never got around to watching The Godfather 2. Me film lover library card is now revoked, I know. But really, really good again. The usual cast return, mostly from the first film, with the obvious addition of Robert De Niro as a young Vito Corleone. There's even a little appearance of Harry Dean Stanton in there, like a blink or you'll miss appearance that I noticed. But The Godfather Part 2, yeah, my first time watching. First impressions was, it's good, it's great. In fact, it's brilliant. But as I rated that one on 5 on Letterboxd, I gave this 4.5. And I know people do prefer this one, but for me, it's just a shade below the first one. Maybe because I'm more familiar with that. Maybe if I watch that again a couple of times, it might elevate it to the level of the first one for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I really, really liked it, but for me, it's not quite the masterpiece of the first one. I think because the film's sort of intertwined into 2 parts. You've got Robert De Niro playing a young Don Corleone, young Vito Corleone, and it's about why he had to flee his hometown of Corleone in Italy to arrive in the United States as a young boy, and you see his rise from just a normal guy with a family guy, his rise into the underworld, into his criminal life. That was half the film, and the other half of the film was the continued story of Michael Al Pacino's character and all his trials and tribulations with the different families and all that. But I've preferred the early story much more. If it had been that the whole way through, it could even have been better than The Godfather, I think, because, that bit of it I really liked, seeing his character arc into this gangster. De Niro, absolutely wonderful, of course, De Niro would be. But, yeah, the Michael Corleone side of the story, I found it's a bit convoluted, maybe because that's my first viewing of it, maybe when I'm more familiar with it, it might elevate it. Because, like with The Godfather, there's a lot of characters that are mentioned a lot by name. So you have to remember the names of all the characters. And I probably found that a bit convoluted on a first watch, but as you've got to know it and you know all the different characters, you know who they're talking about when they say they've got to go and pop so and so and get rid of so and so and make sure he's retired, so to speak. So yeah, but don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, and I need to give it a few more watches. I probably won't happen. It's taken me all these years to watch it first time, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. I always appreciate it. Thanks all again for all your comments and that. I really love the comments, so keep them coming. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Wrong film. We're all about that this week. Give me a thumbs up if you like what I've done here today. Maybe think about subscribing if you want to hear more of this nonsense. And yeah, I'll catch you all in a week. I've got a little stack of pickups there going on, so we'll get onto them in the week. Take care. See you all later, and have a good one. Ta-ra.